There is so much that's happened over the weekend. There is now solid proof that Taylor Swift is dating Matty Healy, Meghan Markle might have attended the coronation in disguise, and Chris Brown physically attacked Usher at his own birthday party. Alright, so now there is real evidence that proves that Taylor Swift and Matty Healy are actually dating. At least, that's what it looks like in these newly released photos. The two of them were seen together for the first time since rumors started, sitting next to each other in a car with tinted windows. They were said to have arrived at Taylor's condo at around 12:30 AM after her concert in Nashville on Saturday evening. The photos are not very clear, but you can make out the fact that both Taylor and Matty are sitting in the back of the car. He could be seen wearing a bracelet which kind of looked like the exact same one that he wore that evening while he was watching her performance. Since the pictures were posted on Twitter, they have generated some pretty heavy debate. Some fans are certain that the two of them were in the car, and others are not so much. People wrote things like, "What am I even looking at?" and "Stop pretending you guys can see anything." But the fact is that Matty attended her concert for 2 nights in a row. He was seen dancing in the VIP area with Gigi Hadid and Abigail Lauren, who are 2 of Taylor's closest and most trusted friends. He was caught on video intensely focusing on her performance as though he was under some kind of spell. At one point he got really into it and even put his hand over his chest. But of course he could just be enjoying the music like everyone else. Some fans have also suspected that they started mouthing secret messages to each other on stage. Apparently at one point in her Nashville concert, Taylor looked dead at the camera and mouthed the words, "This is about you, you know who you are, I love you." This moment was allegedly connected to something that Matty did during his concert in the Philippines on May the 3rd, where he appeared to say the exact same thing. These 2 clips were then posted on TikTok, and some people are certain that they are actually sending these secret messages to each other. It makes more sense when you think about how private Taylor is with her love life. According to The Sun, the 2 of them were planning to go public with their romance over the weekend, but that never really seemed like something that Taylor would do. Still, it was reported that they are both massively proud and excited about this relationship, and they don't want to hide it away. But with everything that's come out now, literally everyone has an opinion on their relationship. One person tweeted, "I'm not going to unstand Taylor for the whole Matty thing, but she needs to be held accountable for dating someone who is racist, anti-Semitic, misogynistic, fatphobic, and just gross. You are who you associate with. Being the biggest pop star in the world does not give her the right to excuse this behavior." Another person wrote, "If Swifties are concerned about how problematic Matty is and make threads about it, why don't they hold Taylor accountable? Because she's the one who's been friends with and a fan of him for 10 years and supposedly dating him. Critique her for associating. She's not an innocent baby." So there is a lot of tension in the fandom over Matty Healy's problematic behavior. Back in February, the singer caused a firestorm on Twitter for comments he made on the Adam Friedland Show podcast. It was nothing short of a disaster. At one point, the guys joked about a woman's menstrual cycle and made impressions of Chinese accents. Later on, they were discussing the topic of queerbaiting, and somehow Harry Styles got dragged into the conversation. Matty said that Harry gets a pass to do this because it's very popular with young girls. Adam and his co-host Nick Mullen then proceeded to make a ton of homophobic remarks, while Matty just laughed. For instance, they joked that gay men don't care when straight men pretend to be gay because they get off on it. Matty half-heartedly attempted to push back and said, well, maybe it's not all gays, but a lot of them. And just like that, the conversation moved on. He didn't really call any of them out or even question what was being said, but his non-response really said it all. When clips of the podcast went viral, it caused an uproar online. Even fans of the 1975 said that they were disappointed by the entire conversation. And this is just one instance of the questionable things that Matty Healy has said and done. His reputation is not exactly squeaky clean. That's why so many people are uncomfortable with the idea that he might be dating Taylor. Even the fact that she's associated with him has upset some of her fans. Which means if they do end up dating, he will easily be the most controversial partner she's ever had. Alright, now why are people saying that Meghan Markle snuck into the coronation? While she stayed in Montecito with Lilibet and Archie, some fans were convinced that she actually made it to Westminster Abbey. They speculated that she might have snuck into the service in disguise, wearing a large white wig and glasses. This theory came from photos taken of one particular guest in the crowd, who seemed to look like he was covering up his identity. Some people thought this whole idea was hilarious, and others were upset that Meghan continues to be the subject of rumors, even though she wasn't even at the coronation. And there's also no real sense to it. One person tweeted, "People really think she'd go that far to be somewhere around people that don't even like her?" But more than anything, many people are wondering who on earth is that person? Well, it turns out that the man pictured is Sir Carl Jenkins, a legendary composer whose work was played during the ceremony. As for Meghan, you can be sure she was definitely not at the royal event. How do we know? Well, over the weekend she was spotted hiking in California, and it's very unlikely that she could be in two places at once. She was spending some time outdoors with her friends Marcus Anderson and Heather Dirac. Meghan was photographed wearing a hat and sunglasses with a jacket that was tied around her waist, so she really seemed to be enjoying her time away from the royal family. As for Harry, he probably wished he had also stayed back in California. He was noticeably uncomfortable when he arrived at Westminster Abbey. As he was walking into the church, he was chatting with his cousins Princess Beatrice, Eugenie, and their husbands. But something about that seemed a little awkward. He was the only one who came solo and sat in between two couples in the third row. Meanwhile, his brother William, Kate, and their children were sat in the front row. As the service continued, Harry looked like he was just going through the motions. He sang the hymns and said the Pledge of Allegiance to Charles, but he never really cracked a smile or showed any sign of happiness on the occasion. We also didn't see any interaction between him and his immediate family. The only thing he did was glance at William a couple of times, but that's about it. After the service, Charles and William took part in the coronation procession back to Buckingham Palace, while Harry was left at the event alone. He wasn't invited to the balcony appearance, and he probably didn't have a reason to stick around. As far as we can tell, he still isn't on speaking terms with either Charles, Camilla, William, or Kate, and that's probably why he left the coronation as soon as possible. He was spotted traveling to the airport just hours after the crowning ceremony, and his flight landed in LA that same evening. So unfortunately for him, it didn't seem like there was any real family reunion, and his attendance was more of an obligation than anything else. But it's not really surprising when you consider that this is the first time he's seen his family since his memoir came out, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. He's since named both his brother and his father in a phone hacking lawsuit against News Group newspapers. In court documents, he alleged that William quietly received a large sum of money from the company in 2020, which is something that was hidden from him to prevent him from coming forward with his own claim. Harry also said that Charles blocked him from taking any legal action because he wanted to keep the media on their side. Apparently, he had a long-term plan to restore his image and get the British public to accept him as king. So all things considered, it makes total sense that Harry is still at odds with his family. And now, did you guys hear that Chris Brown just physically attacked Usher? Over the weekend, Chris was celebrating his 34th birthday party in Las Vegas, at a party that was hosted by Usher. Things went from 0 to 100 very quickly when he got drunk and spotted Teyana Taylor. Apparently, he was upset that she was at his party and demanded that she leave. These two have not been on the best of terms since the American Music Awards back in November. If you didn't know, Chris was scheduled to perform a Michael Jackson tribute alongside Teyana, but she backed out at the last minute, and in the end, the whole performance got cancelled. So Chris blamed all of that on her, and when he saw her at his birthday party, he drunkenly confronted her about the whole thing and then told her to leave. But Teyana just decided to ignore him because he was so intoxicated. At this point, Chris reportedly became irate and verbally attacked her. That's when Usher stepped in to try and defuse the situation, but that only led to an even bigger argument. Chris called him a coward, and the two of them got into a fight. It escalated to the point where they both stepped outside the venue, but unfortunately for Usher, he seemed to be going up against Chris's entire crew. It was said that they all jumped him at the same time. Apparently, Usher was seen walking around with a bloody nose after the fight, but it's worth mentioning that this story has been heavily debated on social media. Some people swear that this whole thing is just a rumor and nothing else. Other people are convinced that it really did happen, given Chris Brown's recent antics. Either way, this latest news couldn't have come at a worse time. Just 4 days ago, Usher was teasing a potential versus battle with Chris. He said, "Because I love Chris, I don't like him, I don't like his music, I love his music, I love him. He's my little brother and he's always been there for me, and I've always been there with him. Through hard ups and down times, I've been there with him. For us to be able to celebrate what we do together, that'll be crazy." Chris has long considered Usher his friend and mentor, but it's possible that this incident could have changed that, and there are real reasons to be concerned about Chris's recent behavior. Less than 24 hours after he supposedly got into this physical altercation with Usher, he was spotted by fans having a verbal fight with some people in Las Vegas. He was at the Lovers and Friends music festival where he was seen fighting backstage. He repeatedly got in the faces of multiple guys who looked like bodyguards. The fight apparently occurred during Missy Elliott's performance. His crew was seen attempting to restrain him so that things didn't escalate any further. In a video that was captured of the incident, Chris repeatedly screams, "I got it," and he tries to shove the other men again and again. Once that clip was posted on Instagram, he actually commented on the post and tried to explain it all. He wrote, "I was mad at people backstage and security was trying to clear everyone off the stage. People started pushing back. I intervened to let them know that my child was back there, so y'all can keep your narrative." But whatever really happened, fans think that Chris is on a downward spiral, because every time he makes the headlines these days, it's usually for the wrong reasons. Like the time he threw a tantrum after the Grammys just because he lost lost out to another artist. He was up for an award in the Best R&B Album category, but he ended up losing to a pianist called Robert Glasper. In response, he completely flipped out and started trashing the guy on social media. He particularly hated the fact that he lost to a person who wasn't very famous, posted a picture of Robert Glasper on his Instagram story and wrote, "Who the F is this?" and "Who the F is Robert Glasper?" He was obviously trying to make fun of the fact that he wasn't a very well-known artist, and he even tried to make fun of the fact that he was a classical musician. Chris posted a Photoshop picture of himself playing the harmonica. He wrote, "I gotta get my skills up, I'ma start playing the harmonica." Unsurprisingly, his fans found his actions nothing short of embarrassing, considering that he was trying to bring another artist down just because he couldn't accept the fact that he didn't win. But once he looked up all of Glasper's achievements, Chris obviously realized that he was in the wrong. He then tried to backpedal and claim that the Grammys did them both dirty and they should never have been competing in the same category in the first place, since they have two totally different vibes and genres. Although it didn't take away from the fact that he had a massive tantrum. So do you think Chris Brown is actually on a downward spiral, or is he just acting out? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.